All right, welcome in everybody to the Players Only podcast. The theme today, we are talking fights, and more fights because of what happened over the weekend. But first, we'll start off with some channel updates. I got more Career Chronicles coming with Walmart Falcon, the guest for the Walmart series because he worked there. He's kind of going through a rough time right now, so no video this week. I don't think a video this week. He's actually about to leave another job because it's stressing him out. I'll just leave it at that. But otherwise, a lot of football this week, next week, those kind of videos. But yeah, what do you got for us?
Starting September 1st. So when we do this every week, usually I'm going through all the headlines and stuff, and honestly overwhelmed with the amount of news and headlines to talk about because it's stuff that we should potentially at least talk about or mention or whatever. Some of it's a little too depressing to really put onto this, so we kind of gloss over it a little bit. And starting September 1st, election season is going to be really kicking off, so I'm going to try to do daily or semi-daily one news thing a day on my channel. You typically probably Monday through Thursday, Monday through Friday, just to kind of have an extra news thing coming out. So obviously stay here for the major updates, but on my side of things, it's going to be more on the politics, but then also major news stuff. Here we're going to keep it light, keep it fun with sports and gaming and business stuff, and still stick with the major headline stuff. Like I said, here we gloss over a lot of the stuff, give our thoughts and whatever. If you want to do the deep dive, do your deep dive. Or come over to my channel and I'll deep dive a couple stories here and there. So that'll start going officially September 1st. I might dive a little bit here and there in August just to kind of test some stuff and try some different things. But September 1st, I want to kick that off. So.
Sounds good.
So, yeah.
So, anything in the news related or politics related? Because you said you were doing it September because it was like kicking off for.
So that's when like the election stuff is really gonna start kicking off. We're gonna have some stuff to talk about today that's very interesting. But it's just more to kind of deep dive because there's a lot going on, and it's just more like I don't know if you feel the same, but I go through every other day and go through trying to figure out what we're going to talk about. And some days there's just way too much. So to make sure that we hit on most things and we're not like regular mainstream media where you don't know who to talk to or who's going to tell you what, I'll just lay out the facts and you go on with your opinions from there. So kind of keep it as unbiased as possible. Yeah, and we'll get to why later.
The whole Adam 22 thing, I know that's for weeks and weeks and weeks. I forgot, but now it's old news.
Right, exactly. So, and like, we'll touch on it, but like the X thing, we completely forgot to talk about X last week. When it's something that we at least should have brought up. It's just there was so much to talk about last week. So, yeah.
Dude, I thought my phone had a virus.
Yeah. Oh, me too.
Seriously, I woke up. X, what the hell?
Well, so it's weird. So on iPhone, because I have all my social media in like one of those little folder things, right? And I go to click on it to get on Twitter, and it still shows the blue bird. But as soon as I click on the bubble, it's X. And it just throws me off every single time. I don't know why it doesn't just fully update. But this is the type of stuff we probably should have talked about last week, and we kind of skipped over it because we had so much sports to talk about, and we don't want to be talking for 2 hours just on news stuff. So this is to kind of ease our burden a little bit and kind of keep it going. So, yeah. But anything else you got? Otherwise, we can move right on to the sports.
No, let's get into sports.
All right. So, to stick with the theme of fights, and more fights. Actually, there's something to surprise you a little bit. Is we're going to start with soccer again. Now, why did I say fights? Well, the England versus Nigeria game took a little bit of a wild turn because Lauren James, I guess, is their number one player over there, right? She got red carded because after colliding with a Nigerian player, she went and stepped on the on the player with cleats, and then continued to play. After it was reviewed, she got red carded. So not only was she suspended for the rest of the game, but she's also suspended for the next game. They England narrowly squeaked by with a win with penalty kicks towards the end. But yeah, their best player is out. So more than likely, England is out of the tournament with their next game. So yeah.
Is this for the World Cup, or what did you say this was for?
Yeah, it's for the World Cup. So, yeah. But with continuing with the World Cup, and probably the end of why we're going to be talking about the World Cup is because the U.S. women, after winning back-to-back World Cups, have been officially eliminated by Sweden. So no more World Cups for the U.S. right now, unfortunately.
Is Sweden pretty good?
Yeah, I think that was like one of the ones that the U.S. wanted to avoid was Sweden. I think that was more of like a finals match that they wanted, but yeah. So got kicked out pretty early, and a lot of people are pissed about it. And you'll never guess who's really, really pissed about it and had some stuff to say. Any guess?
One of the Pauls?
Ooh, Donald Trump had something to say.
Oh.
He made a nice little comment. Word for word, this is what he says. The shocking and totally unexpected loss by the U.S. women's soccer team to Sweden is fully emblematic of what is happening to our once great nation under crooked Joe Biden. So he's blaming Joe Biden for women losing the World Cup.
Wow. So
right.
was this over the weekend? The match with Sweden?
Yeah, I think it was on Saturday or something.
So Sweden had a good weekend, but I'll get into that later.
Yes, they did. And then kind of moving towards baseball. On Saturday as well, there was the best thing probably to happen to baseball in the last 5 years. In a White Sox versus Guardians matchup on Saturday, there was a huge brawl, just because it was Ramirez. He slid between or was it Anderson? I can't remember. Slid between the legs of the second baseman to be safe. Basically, it was like, hey, don't do that. You're going to get somebody hurt. People will be out for the games, blah, blah, blah. And it turned into the second baseman ripped off his gloves, and then they went at it. And to the point where the whole team got involved. Even coaches were fighting each other. It was awesome. It was probably one of the best things I've ever seen when it came to baseball. Before I get to the official punishments that just were released a couple hours ago, what'd you think when you saw it?
Yeah. And right, that's like one of the tougher parts of baseball, I guess. Both people are on the base. But yeah, you can get into the punishments. I think one guy got a 6-game suspension.
Yep. So the second baseman, so Anderson was the second baseman. He actually got the 6-game suspension because he officially threw the first punch. He also shoved the guy first. And ripped the gloves off. Ramirez is the guy that slid between the legs. 3 games. The Guardians pitcher, it was Edmund Clace, or I just know his last name is Clace. He actually got a 1-game ban because when he was ripping Ramirez off of Anderson, he was choking him out. And then coaches from both teams. I think the White Sox had 2 coaches, and the Guardians had 1 coach, and they also have a 1-game ban because they were also fighting and egging some stuff on. So, so yeah, it was obviously suspensions and whatnot were going to be coming. I'm kind of happy that it's not too serious. just because it's entertainment value. No one, I don't think, really got that hurt. I did see one
Yeah.
guy was limping off pretty bad, but it was entertainment, right? It got everybody actually talking about football. I mean, baseball while football is going on.
Mhm.
And that's probably one of the biggest challenges that baseball has. So I'm glad it's not too big. And it's every day in training camp there's a fight. Nobody's getting suspended for it, you know. Not the end of the world. Any thoughts on that further?
No, I agree. It wasn't too bad a fight. It was interesting, but right, they didn't need to go crazy with the games or anything. I agree too. The
Right.
second baseman should have got the most or the longest suspension.
Yeah, definitely. Uh, and just continuing this nice little theme we have going with sports.
Fight,
It
fight,
was a
fight.
really it was a really really big weekend for fighting because not only was SummerSlam this weekend, but the Jake Paul and Nate Diaz fight. So the Paul brothers had a huge weekend. I'm actually still surprised that they hosted both of them on the same day. It's kind of nuts. You think they want to divide it up just a little bit
Hmm.
for fans or whatnot. But did you watch any of the SummerSlam or not really?
No, no, I didn't. I didn't watch. I've seen some highlights of SummerSlam,
Yeah.
but right, the Jake Paul fight I watched. Did you
Yep.
see SummerSlam?
I watched a little bit because Lucas is getting to that age where he really likes WWE. I want to encourage that part because WWE is awesome.
Yeah.
I mainly watched the highlights and the main moments of the Logan Paul fight, which was pretty good. With the brass knuckles and whatever. Um, I think if anything, Logan Paul is saving WWE. Um, I know, during the pandemic, everybody's really worried that WWE might just disappear because they had to lay off a lot of the wrestlers.
Yep.
Um, so while I don't know if it was the smartest move for Logan Paul to go WWE versus keep going with the boxing, he seems to love it. He's making a ton of money from it, and he's definitely saving for WWE. So, and his fights are always awesome. He has one big moment every single time in each one, and it's always one of those holy shit moments. So, uh, can't hate him too bad for those. Now, as far as the Paul Diaz fight, I just watched the highlights, but you watched the whole thing. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
So I won't take it round by round, but it is like right away in the
Yeah,
beginning, I could tell Jake was better. Just
yeah,
watching it, I thought he was about to knock out Diaz. Period in the first round. So,
yep,
like UFC better than me, but that this is why too I don't get excited for these fights no more with the UFC guys because right they just don't look that good in
yep,
boxing. Um, Nate Diaz, some of his punches looked like stuff you'd see on Rough and Rowdy, straight up,
yeah,
like going
yep.
like that. Like, what is that? But right, Jake was a lot better. It was pretty obvious. I think it only went 10 rounds
Yep.
because probably they got some bonus if it went longer. Otherwise, Jake could have had it over a lot sooner. Maybe
Yeah.
towards the end, Nate won some rounds, but again, I think Jake was just hanging in there. Nate, I don't know, just trying to be funny at some moments too.
Yep.
Then at the end, they were talking about MMA. Nate sort of
Yep.
said yes, but it wasn't a real convincing. Yeah, let's do this kind of yes. Um, in a pre-show interview, Jake is still open to a Tommy Fury rematch. Um, so we'll see there. Said he wants more boxers. When asked about Conor McGregor, he said no and he needs to go to rehab. So I guess he's not super into that. But no, otherwise he seemed like too. He had a lot of respect for Nate. I don't follow the UFC, but it's a name I've heard of a lot before. So maybe it's that he's 10 years older than us. maybe he's like an idol or something. Um, Otherwise, you got any other thoughts on what I said or?
Uh, Not that like anything you said was wrong or bad or anything. I actually agree with everything for the most part that you said. From more of a boxerish point of view, right? So did some boxing, had a couple boxing fights and whatnot. The things that I saw and noticed just from highlights, because I fell asleep for the fight. The footwork for Nate Diaz was awful. It was so bad. He didn't really train to be for this match at all. He kind of just did his MMA stuff, which was really stupid
Dude,
because
dude,
of how different it is.
I literally after the first round. That's so funny you say that. I literally after the first round put on Discord something like, "It doesn't even look like Nate Diaz trained more than 3 days for this."
Right. So, like with boxing, right, it's all of your footwork and endurance, right? It's not even necessarily the punches that you throw, it's your footwork kind of shows what you're doing. With MMA, it's strongman wins or aerobics and a little bit of the endurance, but it's a lot shorter of fights, right? Um, so that you didn't see. It was funny to watch Nate Diaz kind of he didn't care. He was there for the payday. That's why he was just joking around. He was egging Jake on, halfway through the fight
Yeah,
because he just
few different
really didn't
times. Yeah,
care. Yep. Jake though, everybody gives him so much shit because of who he fights and whatnot. Nate Diaz is a monster in the MMA field, right? Now, few years removed from being the monster that he was. But I mean, this is somebody that beat the shit out of Conor McGregor multiple different times that people are afraid to get into the ring with because dude will kill you because he's full on like gangster type of guy, right? Um, so it's not somebody to take lightly, but it's still not his kind of fight. Jake, however, he's a boxer. As much as I hate to say it, he is legitimately a boxer. Is it his forms and stuff sloppy? Yes. Does he have the greatest footwork? No. But he could be a legitimate contender, and I know one of his goals is to be like the world champion by 2026.
yeah,
Face a real boxer, not Tommy Fury or anything like that. Fight a legitimate boxer who is relevant right now, or keep doing your stupid fights like KSI and your brother or whatever. Because I know those are coming. Everybody knows those are coming. Just
yeah,
do them. But if you legitimately want to be an actual contender, fight a legitimate boxer. Then you'll prove everybody wrong. All the haters, all the people that think everything's rigged because of who you fight. Fight a legitimate contender. That's all I ask. Because then everything else gets pushed to the side, and then you can actually be taken seriously. Because Jake is a joke. Everybody thinks Jake is a joke. He can
yeah.
actually fight though. So
Yeah, with the rig stuff too. I don't think this last fight was rigged. I
yeah,
just think he way outplayed him. It was just with the Tyron Woodley fight.
yes,
There was some like in the fourth round when Tyron almost knocked him out and then kind of froze. There was just like some suspicious moments.
yeah,
Um, but right, yeah, there's none with this. It was a
no,
snooze fest honestly after the fifth round. It was eh.
yeah.
Um,
Right. The only ones that I can legitimately say 100% rigged, the um, holy crap, the Logan Paul and versus Floyd Mayweather, 100% rigged. I mean, he's holding him up half of the fight.
yeah,
Um, even when he faced Deji, Deji even basically came out and said it was rigged when he fought him, saying, "Hey, I'm not gonna actually hit you." So that's how you know it's just for the paydays. So
yeah.
that stuff, that's the ones that really get me, and why I'm never gonna be the guy that wants to spend the 50, $60 on these
Oh
pay-per-view
hell
fights
no, hell
because,
no, dude,
but this
dude.
one seemed legit.
Like I was trying to say, there are people in Rough and Rowdy, maybe
Yep.
40%, 50%, 30% that would straight up beat Nate Diaz in boxing, and would have been way more entertaining opponent for
Right.
Jake. So
And,
yeah,
and like legitimately though, if you want to watch fun, awesome boxing or whatever, and it may not even be like the greatest boxing, instead of spending your 50, $60 on this, watch Rough and Rowdy. I mean, we watch it 4 or 5 times a year. It's $20. You know, you split it with a couple buddies. You and I pay $10 each.
yeah,
It's like one of the most fun times that we have, and whatever. Just because it's just stupid rednecks boxing trying to kill each other.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you
Rough and
never
Rowdy's
know
the
who's
best.
gonna come out next and how they're gonna look.
You never know who's
Yeah.
gonna fly over the ring or anything like that because they can't stay in.
And then Dave, he's a loser, but his reaction sometimes is funny.
Exactly. Rough and Rowdy's
Yeah,
the best. So if you want to watch not great boxing, just watch that. So
yeah, yeah. But
for
again,
half the
towards the end,
price.
like the belt holders, then they actually do have some people that can do something.
Yep.
Um, they'll even have
Pro fights are
backhand. Yeah,
50-50, but yeah.
yeah.
But anyway, moving on from that, there wasn't a ton of NBA news out there. I don't know if you have something.
No,
I did
it's
have
like dead season in the NBA.
right. I did have one thing that was leaked, and I don't know if you saw it because it leaked recently here, actually. So Zion Williamson, he was the first overall pick a couple years ago.
Yep.
Has not been very good. He's always hurt. When he does play, he is good, but he's always hurt. Well, the Spurs are interested in Zion and actually sent a trade offer to the Pelicans, and it was leaked. And I'm curious on just your thoughts alone. I don't think they'll take this offer, but I'm curious on what you think. So the Spurs just get Zion, nothing else, okay? But the
Mhm.
Pelicans, they get Keldon Johnson, a guard forward, Doug McDermott, a forward, a 24 first, 25 first, 26 first, and a 27 first. Um, Personally, I haven't even heard of those two guys, but the
Yeah.
firsts are kind of intriguing. Um, with Zion being as bad as he is, and always hurt, he might not play that much, so who knows what that first is actually going to be. If it's going to be middle of the road, you would hope so since they have a first overall guy on their team. But is it going to be middle of the road? I doubt it's going to be towards the front. It's probably going to be that middle to late, and then you have to worry about the lottery and
Yep.
so on. But just hearing it right off the bat without looking too much into it, what's your thoughts? Would you give up Zion if you're the GM for a haul like that?
Right. The two players they weren't anything special. But right, all the picks. Uh, yeah, maybe. I wouldn't feel great about it until I know he's healthy and actually wants to
Yeah,
be out there. And is in shape. As far as the Pelicans go, if they took that trade, there would be a big backlash. I know
yeah,
they'd have to deal with.
hmm
But I get on their side, how many years are you going to sit and wait for Zion to get back in shape, play more than half a season? Um, so I kind of see what the Spurs are doing.
yeah. No, for sure. I mean, it's
They want to
compelling,
get one,
for
yeah. They want to get one big. They want to get another superstar on their team. Then they'd be interesting with Victor.
right. And then Zion, he's up for a contract soon, I think, too, right? In another year or two,
Probably
I think.
because he was
Yes,
the 2020 draft, I believe. So he's
right.
going into his fourth year. So probably.
Yeah. So, I mean, you wouldn't have two superstars for very long unless you sign them. And then obviously, if you're making this much of a trade, you gotta sign him for whatever he wants at that point. Um, so yeah, it's an interesting proposition. I was
Yeah.
You don't really hear too much about league trades too much before they happen or before anything gets released about them. So it was definitely interesting for sure. Um, No, as far as the NFL, we talked about this before we started recording. There's not a ton out there right now that's big stories to actually talk about. It's, there's little fights, little brawls going on. There's some people sitting out because of contract disputes, like TJ, who he might be hurt. It might be a contract dispute. We don't know. So it's not worth necessarily full on sit here, deep dive, and look like those people on ESPN Sports Center going to talk about it for 2 hours, and we have no idea. So no reason to really dive too much into that. The NBA, it's kind of the same thing. There's nothing really going on right now. It's slow season. But that's a nice little tidbit there. So we'll just kind of move on to gaming unless you had something else to add as far as sports.
Well, just right. Like right now, it's just training camp. Oh, this guy looks good that day. That guy struggled. Nothing really to take a deep dive in. Preseason starts later this week.
Yep.
Maybe there'll be some trades. We'll see what happens. Injuries wise, maybe some, but yeah.
Right. And so far, there hasn't been really any crazy injuries in the last week. Obviously, last week we had like 6 injuries right off the bat to talk about and contract stuff to talk about. This week, there's no contract news. There was no real big injury news either. You have some people getting healthy out of nowhere, like Javonte Williams, but that's about it. So, but otherwise, we'll just move on to gaming because we do have couple interesting things to talk about. The one that doesn't interest me really at all, but maybe it was something that you liked growing up, RuneScape. You ever play RuneScape?
No.
Yeah, me either. I know it was really, really big, but apparently they're rolling out additional content and like extra classes and stuff like that, which is crazy to think because that's a really old game. I know they kind of...
That's got to be 20 years old.
Right. I know they... released like a remastered sort of re-release or something like that a couple of years ago, that people went in like droves to play it, and then I haven't heard anything else since. But apparently they're releasing more content, so which it's free, why not? So can't hate on that. Everybody used to love RuneScape back in the day, so whatever. At Gen Con, a pair of thieves went up and they stole $300,000 worth of trading cards. As of right now, they have gotten away with it. And they have no idea where they are and whatnot. But trading cards, $300,000 worth. And I'm sure at like some place like Gen Con, it might not even be that many cards. It could just be a decent handful. And whatnot, because obviously those cards are going to be worth a ton of money, and a lot of those trading card guys, they just put them in those big old cases, so they could have just taken a case or two and walked right out. So there's a lot of misinformation right now going on, but definitely something to keep an eye on because that's it's kind of nuts.
There's a story out a few months back. People stole like some big case of Pokemon cards. They were all rare. Right, we're talking over $100,000 worth of cards, and how they eventually got caught. They went to a place in Texas where you can like sell your cards for cash. Well, the guy working had heard about the situation, these certain cards missing, and sure enough, I don't know if it was one guy or multiple. He's trying to sell all these rare cards, kind of out of nowhere. Didn't seem like Pokemon or card people at all. So he kind of put 2 and 2 together, and as he was going through the cards, in retail, those places where you can hit the button to call the cops, and the cops showed up, and that's how he got them, and it was the people that stole these cards. So, I'm sure these people will be stupid again and try and get cash or flex it on eBay or whatever, and people put 2 and 2 together and they'll get caught.
For like a local kind of story, I don't know if you heard about this when it happened last year, like February-ish. There's a trading card store not too far away from us, but like I think in the Lake Elmo, Minnesota area. a guy went to the back of the store and just carved out the drywall and then snuck into the trading card store. He stole $100,000 worth of trading card stuff. Turns out the cops knew who it was for about a year. They just didn't have absolute proof because he he left fingerprints and like hair or whatever. But no, they eventually got him right before he sold the cards and stuff like that too. But yeah, no, people are going out of their way to steal trading cards all the time just because of the value for something so small is nuts. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Right. They're fairly easy to sell once you get a hold of
yeah.
them.
So this isn't exactly gaming, but it deals with a gaming YouTuber, Kai Cenat. He's also a Twitch streamer, obviously too. But he tried to host a little giveaway event in New York City, giving away PS5s. Didn't go very well. Instead, it started a riot. Uh, and a lot of the government officials and police are all blaming like young kids doing this riot stuff. I've seen those videos. There's a ton of adults, a ton of old people, and adults out there too. So it's not just kids and whatever. But more than 60 people were arrested, including Kai. Kai is being held on 2 counts for inciting a riot and unlawful assembly. So obviously big charges, but it goes a little deeper than just the Kai stuff too. And I want to get your thoughts, but I want to kind of go off on this too. There was lots of videos out there of the actual rioters and people going crazy, jumping on cars, hitting the old people and stealing their stuff. There's also like a girl, like about 20. She was standing on top of a stoplight, basically ass out, and just basically showing kids and stuff her ass, and shoving a football between her ass cheeks and yeah. But now she's released a statement and saying that she was sexually harassed, even though she was letting these guys do it. But she was saying that the videos that were being released have not showed the entire part of the story. That in between those video clips, she was also kicking people off of her and was saying no, and that she went on top of the stoplight to get away from the men. Doesn't really go 2 and 2 together, but it's people are going to be taking this time to take any kind of advantage that they can. There's people throwing fireworks at the cops. It was ridiculous. The mayor of New York said that there's got to be more to this. Other agents are in play. Other enemies of the YouTuber have got to be in play because why are teenagers coming down with baseball bats and fireworks? So there's a lot going on with the story. It's going to keep developing. There's going to be lots of misinformation. So careful for what you hear about it and what you see. Dive a little deeper into this stuff, especially news media in general loves to tear down Twitch streamers and YouTubers as it is, and whatever. Not saying what Kai did was good because it was really, really stupid of him. But you need to dive a little bit deeper into it before you just take whatever you hear.
Yeah.
But yeah, your thoughts on the whole situation?
Yeah, like it was really stupid. He's not too long ago. I think I saw a clip that he hit the most subs at any one point on Twitch.
300,000.
So he's way too big to be going downtown New York, giving away free things. Like. Yeah, it's just a no-brainer that shit was going to go on. Maybe not to this extent, but still like 70% of this extent.
Right.
If you wanted to do a giveaway, you can do it online. You see it all the time on Twitter. It was really dumb. And you should have saw this coming. Was this maybe for attention, for views? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But regardless.
And plus, I mean, if you're a Twitch streamer, YouTuber, whatever, you're filming everything. Especially if you're doing a giveaway stuff, you're definitely filming. So
yeah,
it was definitely for views. and I know he was like posting on Twitter or X, like, oh, I love my fans, but hey, chill out while all of it was happening. I wouldn't say he's probably the smartest person in the world because I've seen some of his stuff and it's always not that great. So I don't really get the pull for him. It's not my kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very, very not smart. So don't think that we're trying to like push on his side at all because it was very, very stupid. But no, just read a little bit more and don't just go on one news site because yeah, mainstream media hates YouTubers and Twitch streamers. So yeah.
Right.
As far as gaming stuff, that's all I had. Did you have anything else?
Oh yeah. We
All right.
again, the theme of this podcast: fights, fights, fights. Well, this weekend was Evo weekend. The biggest.
Okay.
It's supposed to be the Super Bowl of fighting games. It's the Super Bowl of fighting games minus Smash. Whether you consider it a fighting game or not. The commentators were talking about it like a fighting game, but we'll get into that a little bit here. The first big thing, I'll have you take a guess. Guess how many people showed up for Street Fighter 6? How many people entered?
Ooh.
Again, this was the first year. So the first year is always the biggest year for a new game typically, and then it slowly dies back down, and then it'll spike back up when the new one comes out.
Right. So I know Street Fighter is bigger than I even think it is. And I know it's huge, especially in like Japan and stuff. Where was Evo held?
Las Vegas.
Oh shit. Okay. So it's even more than I'm probably thinking. So I'm gonna say 500,000.
No. This was all in person. No.
Oh, okay. So the 150. We'll stay with that.
No, it was 7,000. It was a little over 7,000. It was like 7,083.
Oh, really?
Now I'm
For some reason, I
sure.
thought it would be bigger.
No, I think what you're thinking of, like, that's how many people like watched it on Twitch.
Okay,
Like
sure.
250,000 is probably what they peaked at. I don't know. I didn't. I watched a little bit of day two. Hoping to see the people here in Minnesota, but again, there are so many people. Yeah, I don't think they ever got on. Probably just wasn't paying attention. But the big story. So the second biggest game, Guilty Gear Strive, whatever the newest Guilty Gear is. This was the biggest Guilty Gear tournament ever. And it was won by a guy named Leffen out of Sweden. And Leffen is known for Super Smash Brothers Melee. He still plays Melee, just won a 16-man invitational a month ago.
What was his main?
In Guilty Gear?
No, first Smash.
Fox and Sheik.
Okay.
Is the two guys he plays. Mostly Fox. But yeah, he I had the top 8 of that on last night. And yeah, just a lot of Smash people were watching it, and yeah, it was crazy that he won. The best in 2 different fighting games. Guilty Gear had like 2,000 or 2,500 people show up for that or enter that. So yeah, again, this is the second biggest event. And then obviously a Smash guy winning some at Evo after all the drama. Let's just say Twitter was like it was a disaster. It was just a big Nintendo roast. I was loving that, or X now.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, otherwise those were the two big things. Evo had 7,000. Smash has never had like Melee and Ultimate have peaked at like 3,000. So maybe all events together, there's been like 7,000, but not for one game. So that was crazy by Evo.
Yeah, definitely. For some reason, I just thought, like with it being Vegas, and especially with how big Street Fighter is, like all I heard was about the new Street Fighter when it first came out. I just figured a lot of people would make the trip or something. So, I know that. Yeah, that's crazy. I'm sure we'll get a Smash video soon, ranting about the Evo Smash controversy a little bit. And
well, I mean, it's it's kind of over. Like they were straight up because it's owned by Sony now. They reached out to Nintendo these last 2 years, and Nintendo tells them to kick rocks. So yeah, it's a good thing. Again, they don't call themselves the most prestigious fighting tournament anymore because they don't have Smash. So there's that. But again, I think this win proves that Melee is the toughest fighting game because no one is coming to Melee and winning. Well, I mean, I can't say winning an Evo anymore because that'll never happen because of Nintendo. But winning a big Smash major, maybe Ultimate, but not Melee. No way. No way. In a year and a half, 2 years of playing, no. And then I bring up the whole Sweden thing too, because he was Sweden and in grand finals he beat a guy from America. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think if you went to like one of the big Melee tournaments, do you think you do decent for how much you've practiced Melee?
Well, I don't play it as much anymore.
Right. Or like college days.
Yeah, or I mean, like kind of what Brandon's cousin did in Street Fighter. Like maybe make it out of pools, the first round of pools.
Nice.
Win a few games, maybe.
Gotta get back on it, you know. Kind of switching gears a little bit, we'll get to the business finance section. So, kind of broke this down a little differently today. We have a little bit for stocks, stock interest, a little bit of Business Insider, and then some lawsuits because there's a real big lawsuit going on right now. But for stock interest, this is kind of nuts. So Campbell Soup Company, they just bought Sovos brand for $2.7 billion. I've never heard of Sovos before, but apparently they make it's called Rouse sauces, which apparently is super popular, and just some frozen entree dishes. So if you're a big stock guy, I would maybe start watching the Campbell, whatever their stock is at. Yeah. And maybe start watching that go up because, especially with those big purchases, everybody's going to be money hungry, and you'll definitely make a little bit of cash there pretty easily. That at the time of recording, that was like 5 hours ago. The official sale was going through, so by the time this is released, it's probably going to go up. Probably, I would say like $20, and kind of watch it from there. So. In other news, Barbie, the movie, has officially made $1 billion at the box office in just 3 weeks. It's a pretty big deal. One of the biggest movies ever. Yeah, so I know you haven't seen it. I haven't seen it either, but we know somebody who has. I'm gonna save the lawsuit one for the last, but we touched on it a little bit. But I have a question for it. So, Elon Musk recently changed Twitter to X, right? He kind of tried to do it before with PayPal in the past. Everything, he just loves the name X, right? He has the car named after X. His son, I'm sure, has an X in his weird name. What are your thoughts on this change? Obviously, nobody likes the change from the Twitter part to the X and sending out an X and re-Xing or whatever the hell. It's always just going to be retweeting and tweeting, no matter what, at this point. Do you think he's purposely trying to fuck up Twitter or just like throw this, hey, I'm a billionaire, I'm going to just do whatever I want, it's my company type of thing? Because especially Twitter, it's going through a bunch of lawsuits right now with unpaid rent and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not a healthy company at this point in time. So is this just like a power play? Or just, he's a troll, right? I mean, he's just trying to troll the world at this point, or what's your thoughts on what Elon's doing right now?
Well, I think the X thing is like for advertising. It's to get people like us to talk about it. Oh, X.
Yeah,
Saw a video too. They're not paying rent because they think they should be charged less, basically.
yeah,
So that's like their incentive to not pay, I guess, is hey, charge us less,
yeah,
or maybe removing or something. Um, but yeah, otherwise, no, I think he'll get it figured out.
yeah.
There's been some other moves to relieve charges that they've been facing for a long time. I know, like people in other countries when they would do the two-step verification, like the phone companies in other countries would just destroy them, so they started to charge for that. Um, and no, I like it. And again, the following and for you is a whole lot better because before that, I
Yep.
was like not seeing things that the people I follow, I was like not seeing that stuff until he made
Yep.
that change. So
And I will say, ever since the change to X and kind of the algorithm stuff, I'm seeing significantly less porn, which is kind of nice. I'm seeing more actual like football news and like the people I'm following. I used to just get like it was just porn, just always. It's like, come on. So that's been a kind of a real nice change as well too. So we'll definitely say that.
well, some of that I saw was just because of one chick I used to follow. She's not
Yeah.
even into porn, but I don't know. She's just a hippie.
Yeah, you know, and then I know like a lot of girls they get like paid just to like retweet or whatever once or twice on their page and stuff like that too. So there's a lot of that stuff going around.
Yeah.
Um, but this is the big news: is Mr. Beast is currently being sued $100 million. Now the story started a little bit last week. He was actually suing. Uh, it's like BDC for his Mr. Beast burger. Basically, he was releasing Mr. Beast burger, but he wanted to put it all over. So he entrusted this company to put it in things like Golden Corral and Perkins to produce the burgers and everything. Well, quality wasn't up to standard at all. It was actually pretty gross from a lot of places. I never got it, but I did hear a lot from it. And the reviews were coming out and it was just bad. So Mr. Beast was suing, saying, "Hey, you're not up to my standards. This is how this is going to be, blah, blah, blah." Well, now this company is reversing and now it's suing Mr. Beast as well, saying, "Hey, you're just a gigantic bully. You're awful to work with. And now you're just suing us so that way you can do a breach of contract, get out of the contract, and use your influence to ruin the company because this company was also going to start working with other content creators to put their foods everywhere and stuff like that too. And now you're just destroying our business just because you're a douchebag, essentially." So it's a gigantic legal battle. It's not going to go away anytime soon. And yeah, so Mr. Beast being called the big bully YouTuber right now. So,
Yeah.
what is your thoughts, and have you been keeping up with it at all? Or
Yeah, I've seen a couple TikToks on this actually. So I guess bottom line is right. If the quality was down, something wasn't being done right, or wasn't being adopted, then right, you got to move on. I think I saw in one of the clips he's gone to this company before about upping the quality,
yeah,
and it's just falling on deaf ears. So
mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, right, get out of it. And the whole, there's another company waiting to do it. I'm sure there is. If I had a Perkins or if I had a restaurant change, hell yeah, I'd want his burger because people would show up just for that. No
Yep,
doubt. People would DoorDash just for that.
Yep.
You know.
I've delivered plenty of Mr. Beast stuff through DoorDash. So absolutely. Um, as far as business stuff, that's all I had. Do you have anything
Well,
businessy?
you hit on you broke the news to me last week on the podcast about Richard Hart getting sued.
Oh,
Um,
yep.
so since we last talked, again, he got sued. What was that, over last weekend ish, by the
Yep.
SEC? Well, Friday he had a documentary come out about it's kind of about him and about Hex.
Yep.
Um, why did you hear that?
I heard a little bit, but I didn't dive into it probably when I should have.
Well, I mean, just the timing was funny because it's like, did the SEC try to do this to make him look bad before his documentary? But then at the same time, it's like it was kind of advertising for his, because everyone was talking about, because just some of the reviews I saw. It's a movie I would go to. The problem is of the list of theaters that were playing it or are playing it, none of them are in Minnesota. Like the closest one is like Chicago, and I'm not gonna
Oh,
go to Chicago for a movie.
no.
Um, but
Bootleg.
it was, well, yeah, I tried, and there's a lot of clips
Oh.
out there, but at this time, and I don't know, is he just released it for free or what? Um, but at this time, it's got some good reviews. It sounds like it's not too biased either. Um, a lot of the reviews I see, people are saying that it's for people that have never heard of crypto before to people that have heard about it since 2009.
Yeah.
So that's good. But yeah, otherwise, a lot of the people that defend Richard Hart too, they make the argument, and it's a good argument that the SEC is going after everybody in crypto right
Yeah.
now. Coinbase, CEO there, Binance, CZ, the CEO there, and who knows who else? Who knows? Who else they're going after?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, again, part of the problem was he was being too flashy. It was to buy this, and tomorrow you'll be in Gucci buying whatever you want, not have to worry about it. Just the promises that he kind of made without saying it, that's what they're going after him for.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, I feel like with a little bit of common sense, you would know, but right, not everybody. But anyways, I just had to bring that up that they did it right before he released the movie. It was still played in movie theaters and everything across the country, across the world.
Right.
Again, not here in Minnesota though.
It's kind of funny when we talk about like with crypto and stuff like that because there's a lot of like misinformation with crypto, especially out there, and it's kind of hard to shift through the stuff to listen to, the stuff not to, because there's a lot of fraudulent type of stuff, and there's a lot of the good stuff that comes out of crypto, like we talked about with like the wireless or the phone stuff and whatnot. So there's a lot of good that can come out of it, and it's nice to actually have somebody to listen to because you do a lot of research and whatever for crypto stuff. So it's definitely something that we want to keep bringing up to kind of get that rolling. Plus, I learned a lot too from the crypto stuff, and also why we implemented this business section too. So there's a lot of interesting things happening in the business world that a lot of regular people like you and I might not necessarily pay too much attention to, and we probably should. So yeah, no, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which kind of leads me to this next thing. What we're getting to headlines here is the whole reason the September stuff is going to start, because a lot of this kind of goes hand in hand, and some of it's super irritating. Um, some of it is going to be a little make you angry, and then the last one I got is kind of a funny story. Uh, but last week we kind of talked about this. So Mitch McConnell, as he was giving his little press conference, whatever, for Congress, he froze, right? He had to like People saying he had a stroke. He kind of was just in the middle, and then he trailed off and stopped speaking. Uh, and there was another senator that during the Congress meeting, Dianne Feinstein, she was told by all of her assistants around her to vote yes on July 27th, right? I'm sure you've seen the little clip. It went viral. The interesting thing about Dianne Feinstein is a couple days before that vote went through, she actually had to release power of attorney to her daughter because she can no longer make life decisions for herself. And yet, she's in Congress making life and death decisions and laws and stuff for Congress for our nation when she can't even make her own decisions for herself. It's actually been released that Congress is the oldest it's ever been for the United States, which is awesome. And they've also been releasing all the laws that they've been trying to implement and do. It's only been for their generation and specific to screw our generation in general, which is fantastic. But Mitch McConnell, he went to go speak in Kentucky just the other day, and he was heckled the entire time. He couldn't even get through his speech because everybody was screaming over his speech saying that he needs to fucking retire because he's an old ass. If he could even hear through his hearing aids through all of that, who knows? But people are pissed. Congressmen are way too old and they're not listening. And there's no term limit. And the only people that can vote on the term limit is, of course, Congress. So they hold all the power. And we just kind of have to sit back and do whatever. And it's kind of why the two-party system doesn't really work that well. Because if you're a Republican, you're going to vote Republican. If you're a Democrat, you're going to vote Democrat. No matter who they are, which is very, very flawed. Very, very stupid. So, yeah. Any thoughts or anything that you've seen about that type of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we were just talking about crypto, and that's always kind of the frustrating part is, you know, we have people trying to decide laws about crypto and, you know.
Don't even understand technology.
Right. You know, you can't even, you know, turn on your phone. How is that person going to understand Bitcoin, for example? Yeah. How are they going to decide on laws? And then they always go after the energy that Bitcoin uses, and I always think it's so dumb because it's like so many mining operations for Bitcoin and Ethereum in the past in the United States are done on solar because electricity's here it's more expensive than other places of the world like South America, China. So some of them, like Elizabeth Warren, just going after, it uses electricity power. Yeah, but in other countries, that's a problem. Not here.
Right.
You're using as much solar or renewable energy as possible.
Yeah, it's always an irritating thing. But then they question things that they don't understand, like the viral clips when they were questioning the chairman or whatever for TikTok or Facebook. You know, those clips are just so unbearable to watch.
I wish we were doing the podcast right during the whole TikTok one. So does TikTok connect to the internet, the home Wi-Fi? Like, come on, dude.
And the dude's not even that old.
Yeah, I was asking him that. Like, that's freaking scary that you're running the country and you don't know what Wi-Fi is.
Right. Yeah. And the thing that just gets me is this Dianne Feinstein. She can't even make decisions on her own life, but she's voting in laws. It's like, does she even understand the laws? I mean, when she can't even cook her own meals at this point, you know, it's ridiculous. Something else that'll actually kind of make you mad, I think, especially because this has to do with technology. So there's been this technology that's been released. I had it, but I don't remember exactly what it's called, but I remember what it does. So basically, it's this device that can actually listen in on anything as far as your technology. It can see where you are, what you're saying, what you're doing, apps you use, the works, right? Now, typically that's kind of centered on just the app you're using, right? But this technology can see all of it. Well, the U.S. government banned the use of it here in the United States. 5 days later, our government started using it by accident, and they started using it specifically on Mexico. And the government was still seeing this and was wondering what was going on, why was this being used. So they charged the FBI to investigate this, right? So they're going through and they were trying to figure out who bought this, why was it being used. Turned out it was the FBI that was using it.
Yeah.
FBI it turned out to be investigating itself, and that's kind of where the investigation just stopped. They didn't see why, who bought it, nothing else. It just kind of stopped right there. Amazingly, mass media is not reporting this or really even say anything.
Exactly.
I listened to Philip DeFranco. He's the only person I saw reporting this. I tried looking all over the internet. I could barely find anything on it. Just kind of interesting how that's getting laid out. So yeah.
Yeah. Right. It reminds me of like the France protests when they were protesting raising the retirement age.
Yep.
A few months ago, and it was like only on TikTok you could see anything without having to really dig.
Yep. Keeping with the fights, I have something with headlines, and it's an absolutely nuts story. And believe it or not, the media is also suppressing this story because they really don't want it out because it's bad. In Alabama, there was this basically like this little cruise ship. It was mainly black people on it. All right. Where they were going to dock, there was a pontoon boat. Pontoon boat is not supposed to be there. Nobody can find the owners in sight. They just kind of left. So the worker for this little cruise ship went to untie the pontoon boat, and it was basically like, whatever, see ya. It's not supposed to be there. As he's untying it and it's starting to float away, these two white guys came up and they're arguing for a while. Then all of a sudden, another white guy and the wife or whatever comes up, and they're still arguing. And the whole time that this argument's going on, everybody on the cruise ship is like, move that bitch, move that bitch. So it's not going well. All of a sudden, this other white guy comes out of absolutely nowhere, runs up, and sucker punches the black dude. He falls down, and all the other white guys basically jump on him. This white guy comes down off the hill to try to help the black guy that's down. These white guys throw him into the water, and then basically a couple other black guys come down to help this dude, and it turns into a nice little brawl. Here's where it gets interesting. The cruise ship docks, and all of a sudden the floodgates open because all these black people on this cruise ship basically do an Avengers-style movement and swarm this, and it turned into a massive race brawl. Lots of people obviously arrested. Lots of lawsuits are being charged. The mayor and all of that, they're all behind the worker, obviously, because he's just doing his job. People were just being stupid, parking their boat wherever they wanted, even though they were told not to park there. And yeah, so it was a massive brawl. All the little media angles, especially on Twitter, was going on the race side of things because obviously there's a lot of that going on, especially in Alabama. Was it racially? Who knows? The dude kind of just ran up to him out of nowhere and sucker punched him, so maybe. Yeah, so it was a massive brawl. So all weekend, just brawl after brawl after brawl.
Yeah, right. Maybe after a few drinks or something, right? He came unhinged.
Yeah, so that was awesome. In Paris, there was a $11 million jewel heist. And so far, they kind of just like walked into the jewelers, they grabbed it all, and then they just walked out. And nobody knows where they went. And as of right now, they've gotten away with it. It's been a week. And you would think with that much money in jewelry that they would have made some kind of attempt to catch them. Nope. They've officially gotten away. um, yeah, and it kind of reminds me, I think it was like around the pandemic time, there was a painting heist in one of the museums. They took like $22 million or $220 million worth of paintings, but they ripped them out of the frames. So it was like amateurish or whatever. And yeah, so far they've gotten away as well. So it's I guess you can just steal stuff from France, and more than likely you're going to get away with it. So
All right. That's where they get those Pokemon cards or trading cards. Yeah, go to France apparently.
I guess so. But yeah, that's what I had. Obviously, some crazy heavy stuff to make you angry with headlines, like always.
Yeah.
And stuff that doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense, but yeah, that's the headlines for it.
Yeah. No, I brought up the things I wanted to bring up today. For once, I think I hit on everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, otherwise,
But
I guess until next week, guys. Yeah, maybe we'll have Jackson on or something.
absolutely, we'll try and mix it up because I guess a little bit of gaming things is the new Call of Duty.
Oh,
Officially, the name announced, the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 for November will be released. So maybe we'll do like some kind of Call of Duty special podcast for next week because yeah, it's definitely something that we need to talk about for sure.
yeah. I assume, yeah, they got to be showing gameplay here soon, August 7th
I hope so.
already. Normally they are hyping it up, but yeah. Um, yeah. Otherwise, anything else? So we'll wrap it up here.
That'll be that. Just keep an eye out.